Go. Oh.
Go. Okay, hey, for real, we're for real going. Hi, I'm Dr. Sharnael Overton Sion. Super excited to be here at TrueTV with Craig Walker, my host. And hey, how you doing, Craig? It's been a minute.
Hey, I'm good, thank you. This is my first show since the famous Rebels of Disclosure Journey to Truth conference, where I met Sherri face to face, and got on like a house on fire. You know, loads of connections made there. Sherri and her husband Kaz, we just talked for hours around the fire. And there was one day we were in the hall for some reason, like it was in between sessions, and we were just talking about stuff, and Kaz was talking about things, and and it's just flowing, and just brilliant people, Sherri and her husband, big fans of those. So I'll go straight into it. How this came about today, if that's okay, yeah. So we were talking at the conference, and Sherri did an outrageously brilliant presentation. And one thing that she said at the end, she actually ran out of time for what she actually wanted to say, and she missed a whole segment off about what we're talking about today: the human and animal bond, a connection, or the connection between humans and animals. And everyone was like, "Oh no, we want you to talk about that." But she never got round to it. So I went straight up to her and I was just like, "Sherri, I know someone who would love to have you on their show and to talk about these things." Obviously, Sharnael, you work with animals. You've got lots of experience with animals, and I love animals. I've always got animals: dogs, cats, hens. You name it. We've had a mini farm in my house. And there is a unique connection that we have with animals, and we often see them as a lesser species than ourselves. But I really don't think that's the case. But that's kind of the background of where this has come from, and where I am super honored that in spite of all the requests that Sherri's had to come and talk about this on their show, Sherri's chosen us first, and I'm like, that's fantastic.
Yes.
So thank you, Sherri, for coming on.
Yes,
wow, what an intro. I am honored, and I've been on your show before, but it's been a while, and I just adored meeting you, Craig, in person. We always talk to each other on these Zoom meetings and interviews, but it's more fun to meet in person. And I had so much fun with you and so many people, and my husband. I joked you guys had a bromance. I mean, you guys hung out. I was like, man, everyone there loved my husband more than me, which is the typical 20 years I've been together. Everyone can't stop talking about my husband, but that's okay. But yeah, I'm honored to be here, and I'm excited to talk about animals because it's my first love.
Well, really? Okay. Go on, sorry, Sharnael.
Oh, no. I was just going to say that's my love too. And, I work at the shelter. But before we get started, I do have a couple announcements. I don't know if you guys know, but while we were out, Craig, when I was in your neck of the woods, we got an email that our show was demonetized. And they were basically accusing me of not being me.
Right.
I'm so me. And that our content wasn't our content, that we were like stealing other people's content. And I don't know, I guess we're all AI or something. I think it was AI that actually decided that and sent us the email. But so what happened is not only did they send me that, but they sent an email to all the subscribers and all the members and basically told them that our channel was in jeopardy and it was probably going to be taken down, and that we were being reprimanded. And I saw a copy of several hundred emails that were people sent. Hey, we just got this. What's going on? And so a lot of people dropped from the channel, and I did go through an appeal process, and I didn't know that it was going to work, but we did get it taken care of, except for a lot of people dropped, and it started out being 65 people dropped, but it ended up being 74 members dropped. So if you are out there and you're watching, we proved that we're real and human. I showed all the videos, and I showed the StreamYard where we record, proved that I'm me, and that Craig is Craig, and that we edit our shows, and that we're not AI. And help us out by subscribing back and joining us as membership, like and share. They do all the things that can help us, and those kind of things. So just had to say that, because have you ever heard of someone getting their stuff back? They took my channel before and I didn't get it back, but I don't know.
That's good. That's good news.
Yes, I'm like, yay, thank you.
Yeah.
And I also want to say, we did not plan to wear the same exact necklace.
I live with this necklace. Where's
I
yours?
I
Where's
never
yours?
take it off. I've had it on since I met Robert Stevens, and this is my Robert Stevens thing. Anyway, I've never taken it off. Anyway, so tell me, I know you've been on before, but we didn't talk about animals. And I didn't know you had a background with animals. And you mentioned doing ozone with animals. So where were you, in vet clinics, or where were you doing this?
Yeah, well, so that's the animals are probably the anchor of my journey. They saved my life because I went through so many traumas as a child, and I was also an only child. And I learned animal communication. I was self-taught because moved around so much as a child. I had a German Shepherd who was my best friend, and we talked about that. Yeah, we talked about this on the last show, and she saved my life because I never trusted anybody. I was, abused sexually by men and kidnapped and all these things, and I didn't trust adults, and I didn't like other kids my age because they bullied me profusely. So I always felt like alone in the world, and so animals were what I flocked to, and they were my friends, and so I wanted to be a vet. And so in high school, I went and I worked down the street. Literally behind my house, there was a vet hospital, and I volunteered, and then I became a kennel tech. And then I quickly, when I put my mind to something, it didn't take long. I was a vet tech under supervision because I was only 17, and I would go in on my day off and watch surgeries, and I became friends with the owner of the vet, and they all loved me because they were like, "Who is this girl?" Like I worked better than any employee there, and I was 17. I was dedicated. And so I went down that route for a while, but I decided I liked nursing better. And also, I struggled with, we talked about this a little bit before, with just, I had a little bit of dyslexia, and I had trouble retaining information. So vet school was it was going to be a real big challenge for me. And I struggle very much with math. So I was like, well, I actually really enjoy the nursing aspect of it. I just wanted to work with the animals. So I went into the vet tech route, and I became a registered veterinary technician. And I did that for 20 years. I worked in general practice, exotic, and I worked in intensive care units in 2 states in critical care. And then I did holistic vets. And then I worked at the National Zoo for 10 years before I really stepped into what I'm doing now. So I have a huge background in animals, animal medicine, animal communication. So I've learned so much. I have so much information in my brain that I want to, I feel like it's time to share. So I was just telling Craig, I'm announcing for the first time on your show, I think, that my 4th book is, my 5th book. I lost that.
You just released your 4th book, haven't you?
Yeah. My 5th book, the next book I'm working on is I'm going to talk about animals only and what they do for us, and soul contracts, and healing the human and animal bond. So it's a big passion of mine.
Wow.
I had no idea.
That'd be amazing. So there you have it, a world exclusive, Sherri's new book being written at the moment.
Yep.
I'm so impressed.
Yeah. So when I first arrived in the States, and Tyler Koala picked me up from the airport, he was still grieving the loss of his dog at the time. Remember, he just lost his dog, and the sense of loss when we lose a pet, it's like, I mean, anybody who has lost a pet dog or something, it's like losing a child, the same grief. So I'm interested in sort of, the connection that we have with them is way deeper than just a mere, oh, they're cute to pet and, and stroke and feed and things. There is a definite soul connection there, right? What do you think about that?
Yeah, and I think that's why I'm circling back and talking about them, because like I said, I worked with animals for 20 years. My last animal job was at the zoo. Well, no, I worked at a holistic vet when I was doing ozone therapy and laser and Reiki and things like that. This guy ended up being a fraud, though, so I didn't work there long. Yeah, there's a lot of frauds out there. They pretend to be holistic because they can do acupuncture, but it's not. Many of them are phonies, so I didn't stay there long. But I did animal communication for a long time, and I was learning a lot working with animals, and they were constantly telling me I have this issue or anxiety or dis-ease because I'm taking on my owner's dis-ease and anxiety, et cetera, et cetera. And people were getting annoyed with me. I don't think people were ready to hear it back then. This was many years ago, 15 years ago at least. They didn't want to hear that. So I kept getting the messages from the animals. You need to work with people. I know you love us, but you need to go out of your comfort zone and work with people, because people are the ones that really need help. We are their guardians. We are their companions. There's so much more to our relationship. So then I was sad because I didn't want to stop working with animals, because they're just so uplifting, and so they give you so much unconditional love that we don't often get from people, unfortunately. So I pivoted, and I started working with adults first, and then it went to children, which we talked about in our last interview. But I feel like where we are right now, I'm doing more animal communication sessions again with my clients, because they're asking me for it. They're like, please, can you just read my animal? And I'm like, fine. So I started opening my schedule up, and then I had a flood, and I realized it's time. And that's the message I'm getting. People need to understand the relationship between animals and people right now. They're so misguided. You need to talk about this, which is why I wanted to bring it up in the Journey to Truth conference, but I was there for another reason. So I wanted to just slip it in there, but I just couldn't fit it in. It's just too much information. So I feel like I need to go out and talk about it now. And I think there's so much misinformation on purpose. And I talk about this, and I think all of my books, I talk about animals at some point, because I always like to sneak animals in there because they're so amazing and they teach us so many valuable lessons. But right now, people have this belief system, because I think we're taught that animals are part of this evolutionary elevator, that they have to work up to being a human being, and animals are beneath us, and wild animals are beneath us, and they're learning to be they're going through this conscious evolution, and they are less than us. And I never bought into that. Even when I was a child, people would tell me that, and they would be like, oh, you have to be a rock, and then you're a fish, and then you work your way up. And I was like, I never resonated with that. I thought that was absolutely absurd. Now I know that can occur, and it's the evolution of the soul. It can be independent and different from everyone else. It's not one size fits all approach. But when I worked with animals year after year after year, what I started noticing or learning is that these animals are ascended beings in most cases. So wild animals and domestic animals are different. So domestic animals are ascended beings that come back to be our companions, to help us through periods in our life, which is why they come for short periods of time. They don't live for a long period of time. So they come in. So it's a soul that I know, for example, that says, okay, I'm going to come into your life like a beautiful guardian angel or a spirit guide, but one that you can touch, one that you can snuggle with on the couch, one that you can feel the love for me, because not everyone believes, and not everyone can sense their guardian angels or their spirit guides or their galactic family. So people truly feel alone. So animals are one way that our galactic family, our soul family network, or our guardian angels can come through, and in a physical incarnation, to be with us, so we can feel them, touch them, feel the love. And they help us through periods of our life. We have a soul contract with them to do different things. But what I've noticed more and more now, because we are healing as a collective, we are shedding our wounds, we are purging and detoxing, and Dr. Sharnael is helping many people do that with frequency and ozone and so many things that you do. But our animals are selflessly come in to take the burden from us, and they heal us every single day in various different ways. But sometimes they can take on too much, and that's how animals develop dis-ease, absent of the nefarious 3D interference and toxins in their food and the ways that they're targeted. But I'm talking energetically, they take on our dis-ease. And a lot of people's pets are dying right now. And I'm going to tell you that the reason for it is because they are saving our life, because they have a soul contract to take the burden of our trauma, a fractal of it, not all. They save our life, because many of my clients were on the verge of getting cancer or dying. Their animal came into their life, got the same cancer, crossed and took it for them so that they can continue living. So there's so much more to the relationships or the dynamics between animals and humans than people are aware of. And that's just one example. So maybe I'll stop here and see what questions you have. But wild animals are a completely different aspect than we have sacred species. There's a lot more to it.
Yeah, I remember you mentioning that, because it instantly made me think of my first dog since I left home. It was a husky called Saber, and he was only 9 when he developed cancer and died. And we, for years I was like, he was too young. Like, did I do something wrong? Did I not treat him right? It's always plagued me. And I'm thinking, what if, he took that for someone in the household, and sort of bore that. And I'm just thinking, wow, and it's something you just said as well, so we all know that the things in the arm aren't good. And I've always wondered, how they insist on animals having things in their bodies. Um, and I don't know what you think about that, Sharnael and Sherri, but it's just made me question, why do animals need to be pumped with all these things as well? And could that be something to do with their spiritual mission here? Domesticated animals, is that a thing, do you think?
There's a lot of different ways to answer that question, and I have regrets too, because when I was at vet tech, we did all the vaccinating, and I would give a puppy 5 shots in one sitting, and I always hated it. I just didn't. It didn't resonate with me. But at the time, I didn't know better. I was 18, 19, 20 years old, and then when I got into the ICU, working with critical care patients for a long time, everything in my mind changed, and I started researching it, and there's a lot more to it than that, but I started questioning more. So I don't like to say anything with certainty, but I believe that there's a lot of nefarious nature involved with the pet vaccines, just like with us. And I don't vaccinate my animals, but I understand that people do, because legally a lot of states, they have to, and there's requirements involved and things like that. Right. It's not just, it's not black and white where you can just not vaccinate.
Yeah, it's the same over here. Yeah.
Mm-hmm. So you do what you have to do. I don't know, Sharnael, you probably have your opinions about it as well.
I was just going to say, can we use a different word than that word?
Oh, yeah, it's a trigger word.
They don't know we're talking about dogs or the other thing. But anyway, yeah, no, my only experience is that I know there's certain things that they get that they tell you got to get every year. But if you really look into it, it's like every 6 years or every 10 years, really. But they make money on just getting everybody to do it every year kind of thing. But most of the people who are vets won't allow you to even come in or be boarded if you're not fully. And so there's I know, anyway, I can't say too much because I work for the shelter and that's what they do. But
we do what we got to do, right? I mean, there are loopholes. There are testing titers you can get, and they'll prove some places will accept that. Like, look, their values are within normal limits, and they'll accept it. And I've actually done that with my children before, where I've proven they have immunity. Look, right here, it says it. So that's a whole other show. We don't want to get in trouble talking about this stuff. But anyways, I could tell you a lot of stories about the zoo. When I worked with wild animals, a lot of things that I learned, valuable tools that I learned from wild animals, because wild animals are a little bit different. They have a different kind of soul contract with us. They are more earthbound in many ways, and they have oversoul groups. So it might be one consciousness connected to a herd of zebras, for example. But there can be individual souls that want to have that experience. So you can meet an elephant, and it's an extremely evolved, ascended 12th dimensional being that says, I want to come to Earth and I'm going to help balance and do grid work. So I'm going to become an elephant, and I'm going to migrate. And as I migrate, I'm going to do grid work and shift the frequency of the planet. So we're actually seeing a lot more of this right now. But historically, it's really been more oversoul groups. But the caveat to that is some souls want to experience what it's like to be a lion or a giraffe or something like that as a collective group or as an individual. So the soul contracts are a little bit different with wildlife. We have sacred species where we have elephants and horses are the protectors of the land. Whales and dolphins are the protectors of the sea. Bats are protectors of portals in between inner earth and outer earth. There's so many. A lot of animals play different roles. Elephant tusks actually hold Akashic records. So I believe that there is a less than 0.0001% of the population that can read those tusks at one point when it's time. Just like a crystal, you could pick up a crystal, a Lemurian. This is a selenite, but a Lemurian crystal, for example, and if you have the right energy connection, you can actually read the crystal, and someone else wouldn't be able to. So elephant tusks actually hold information like Akashic records. And there are a very small number of people on the planet that will be able to, when it's time, read them for information, which is why their tusks are so valuable. People think it's because, oh, the ivory is so expensive. That there's actually another reason that elites want to hoard those tusks. Same with our teeth. So there's a lot of information that I've learned from zoo animals as to like the sacred nature of the animals and why they're here and what they're here to teach us. I also learned that I was told at the zoo many years ago that at one point, a lot of because I worked in program management for the public, what is it called? I'm forgetting the name. It was our health program, like conservation and species survival. So when I started having children, I wanted different hours. And so I went to a different division. And I started doing conservation work and traveling a little bit here and there. But what I was told is that a lot of the species that are becoming extinct will resurface one day. And I thought, well, that's pretty cool. And I didn't tell anybody about it at first. And I'm like, so these animals that are diminishing population are going to come back. But what I misinterpreted, which I didn't realize until probably years later, is that we are going to see them in the fifth dimension, not in the third. So they have left the third dimension because they don't want to be here anymore. They don't want to experience poaching. They don't want to experience this frequency because it's become too low. So they've chosen as a species to be extinct. But they are in the fifth dimension, and we'll be able to see them as we evolve.
Wow. I was just thinking then as well, something I heard a while ago is with regards to whales and dolphins, that you said they're sort of like, you say guardians or protectors of the sea. I remember hearing years ago that they again, it's just something I've heard, they weren't actually native to this planet, that they've been put here from another planet, basically. And because they are emitting a frequency, their songs, I mean, we know that dolphins communicate with sonar frequencies, very, very intelligent, multidimensional beings, really. And that they were put here to actually keep, like you say, protect the frequency of the waters, because we are a water planet. And obviously we are water as well. So they're actually energetically protecting us, our bodies too. And I just think this is a big part of this kind of the lost ancient knowledge that we're here to recover. I remember reading that Dolores Cannon book. It's something along the lines of restoring the ancient knowledge or the ancient ways or something like that. And this is a sort of thing as we're kind of, our consciousness is rising and we're becoming increasingly aware of stuff. I mean, my dad is, I might get into trouble for sharing this story, but he's very, what's the word, when you can connect with people, I guess telepathic in a way. Yeah. And he was at a zoo once and he says there was an orangutan there, and he says, boom, he made a connection with it. Like they were exchanging thoughts, and they're a lot more capable than we think they are. And they're a lot more aware of stuff than we are. I mean, I think they're a lot more in tune with nature as well. And, we're getting back to that. But we can learn a lot from animals. Sharnael, have you any thoughts on that?
Yeah. So on a science level, frequency in animals is huge, which I know you guys are very aware of. But like cats, we're 67 megahertz on a healthy adult day. Cats purr at 157 megahertz. And so if you ever have an issue where your cat is trying to like get on top of you, especially like right on your chest or your lap or somewhere, they're actually just trying to integrate and upgrade your own frequency. And I have experienced several times, like Sherri's talking about, the whole they take on your stuff. I had a dog that took on mold for me, and unfortunately did pass, which was one of the toughest deaths that I ever had to experience as an adult with one of my animals. But I'm the same as far as what Sherri says. When people come to me with their animal and say, hey, can you help with this or that or this or anxiety or whatever, I'm like, okay, well, let's talk about you. And if we can get you straight, then we can get the animal straight, because they're going to just mirror everything with you, which, like she said, they don't really like. But going back to frequency, on like our biofield is usually 4 to 5 feet, unless you're like super have a larger state of consciousness. The higher your consciousness, the bigger your field. I have tested some people up to 21 feet in radius. But horses, she mentioned, horses as guardians, they're so mystical and powerful in frequency that they're actually their field, their radius is 350 feet.
Football field, I've been told. Yeah.
Yeah, just driving in to go feed the animals, or like they're like, "Oh, we already know," and they're like ready for you. And dolphins is unmeasurable. Like they don't have the stats to even, they don't have the equipment to even measure each and every biofield of dolphins because it's so huge. And they're using dolphins sonar by putting people in like pools of dolphins for cancer patients, for women in labor, so they don't have labor pains. I mean, there's so much to this. I'm sure Sherri's familiar, and I don't know if you've heard of Craig, but frequency is huge, and their radius is huge, and they're extremely intuitive animals for sure.
Oh my God, you just touched on so many important pieces there. And a lot of dolphins come from Sirius. The Sirius has a lot of water planets too, so a lot of the whales and dolphins have been brought here from there. And what their sonar, their language is a form of light language, which is everything comes down to energy and frequency. So I'm a big believer in frequency and healing, and their ability to not only guard the planet, the water, but they are sending healing frequencies, and they're communicating with inner Earth as well. And there's a lot of Lemurian. There's a huge Lemurian population that are in marine life now, and they communicate with inner Earth as well. And there's a huge population of Lemurian people right now as well. And I work with a lot of them, and they tend to have a lot of animals. So pets specifically take on different roles. And Sharnael mentioned cats. So cats are more galactic and more astral. So that's why they're very different than dogs. The relationships that we have are different. So cats they usher out lost souls, ghosts and spirits out of your home. Especially the starseed community, it's huge. There's millions of us, not just us. Very multi-dimensional beings tend to attract cats. They want to have cats because cats work with multidimensional humans, because we are so multidimensional. We're in a lot of different dimensions at the same time. We're interdimensional, I guess is how you should say it. They need to protect us when we are traveling astrally. So our cats are with us all the time. Even when we're sleeping, they are out in the astral realm with us. That's why they sleep so much during the day. So they work in the astral realm. They're less grounded to this planet. And we call them muffins on our house. When my Sphinx comes and does muffins on the belly, I think it's an honor. I will stop everything I'm doing, literally. And I'm like, please, because I must eat it in that moment. Like, they know who needs it and when. And they're sending you healing frequencies. It's absolutely beautiful. And then dogs work in a much different way. They're more grounded to the earth plane. So they are really here to be in the present moment, to be our companions. So that's why, bless you, dogs want to be with us. They want to lick you. They want to follow. Like, they're the first ones to greet you when you walk in the door. They put, the way they heal you is by licking you, putting their paw on you, laying next to you, spooning with you, locking eyes with you. Like, they have a lot of different tail wags even. They have an abundance of ways to heal us as well. But a lot of it's emotional healing, where cats are more frequency-based healing. So it's a little bit different. Of course, people are listening and they're going to say, oh, I have a cat that's so much like a dog. Of course, if the soul that wants to come through, that knows you, prefers to be a cat, then, you're going to have that cat that's like a dog. So there's always going to be exceptions. I'm not saying every dog is this way, every cat is this way, but cats and dogs have a completely different relationship with humans for a specific reason.
Yeah, I was going to say too, something about, oh shoot, I just lost it. Well, go back. What were you saying about cats and dogs before the cats and dogs thing? About the different roles?
Cats are more astral. There's a lot of Lyran beings too. A lot of Lyran feline humanoids that have come in as cats. There's a lot of Lyran cats here. There's some Syrian cats here as well, but they tend to come in as lions, tigers, you know, like big cats, exotic cats, but they'll be domesticated as well. And people who have Lyran cats tend to know, because they're wild and they don't want to be, they struggle being domestic cats. They want to be outside. They want to hunt. They want to be out. Like they'll howl. Like, I know my Sphinx regrets being a domestic animal. He's here for me, but he will howl and go in the perimeter of the house and just, he's constantly looking for a way out. He wants to hunt lizards. He wants to be outside. And I'm like, and I tell him often, I'm like, Loki, you sign up for this. Don't forget, I need you here. So stay with me, you know, but sometimes they have a hard time, just like we do, integrating into being pets. And a lot of times souls will try out being a dog or a cat and they hate it. Everybody's had that animal where they're like, my dog is not, it's like a human. They have human eyes. They look at you. They don't like to fetch. They don't want to play. They're very like dainty. They don't like to be dogs. You know, like they'll walk around petals, or is that how you say it? Puddles, not petals, puddles in the ground, like water. And so those are generally souls that are like kind of first timers. They're like, they haven't been a cat or a dog for very many times.
I remember what I was going to say. Oh, sorry. Go ahead. The eyes. You mentioned the eyes. And on a side, see all this Lemurian galactic, like that's over my head. But the science stuff for eyes, when they make eye contact, I don't know which one of y'all said that, or both of you, but there is a lot of science to once making eye contact of just staring into your animal's eyeballs for a certain amount of time. And humans too, there's like serotonin, dopamine, and different chemicals that are released throughout the brain that really uplift your immunity. And then even you mentioned the dogs laying next to you, and you know, there's a lot of grounding with animals.
Yeah.
I mean, it's equivalent to going outside barefoot for, 20 minutes or whatever, where it just stabilizes your chemistry in your brain as well as your hormones, for your endocrine system. So lots of healing just by having a dog. I mean, statistically, they've done all kinds of reports where it's like if a child had a dog or grew up with a dog or a cat, or, they're more responsible, they have better communication, just all these like high, and people live longer when they have animals. It's statistically proven. They use pet therapy in senior homes and what have you as well. And that's how I was working in a senior home in high school. And I thought, oh my gosh, this is what I want to do. I just want to bring animals in and let them interact with older people and help them on a physical. But what if we're doing that all the way along? And I went to vet school for like 2 minutes, but I couldn't handle, the dogs being in trauma from a car accident or whatever. And then I was like, okay, I'll work at the zoo. And I thought I was going to pet baby monkeys all day. And I cleaned up poop and I went on a lunch break and I was like, yeah, bye, deuces, I'm out here. And I never quit a job like that, but I did quit. And then I just went into something with the least amount of math possible. Just like you have all these things in common. But Craig, what were you going to say?
I've just literally double checked it now. It just something that popped into my head, and I saw it as a meme recently, and I double checked it. It is weird. So, do you have any thoughts on domesticated cats being a hybrid with snakes?
What?
So, there's this theory where if you look at big wild cats, lions, tigers, they all have circular pupils, but domesticated cats have slits like snakes. And there's this theory. There's this theory that domesticated cats have been merged with snakes.
No,
I'm just wondering
I've never heard that. I'm going to be honest with you.
I just think it's interesting, like, because you look at big cats, they have circular eyes, and all domesticated cats have slits, and I'm like, that's weird. Have I just ruined it?
I know, I've never heard that at all. That's interesting. I'll have to, next time I do some sessions, I'll have to see where that even comes from.
So it could be complete nonsense. I just wondered if
it could have been a joke or something like that. Yeah. I've heard a lot of things, but I've never heard that one.
What is your take on snakes? What is your take on snakes? My daughter has one, and I'm just, I can't even watch one in a picture or like if it's, what is that? I don't know.
Well, I think our relationship with reptiles and in general is a little bit skewed because for obvious reasons. I don't want to say too much on this channel because it's on, YouTube and stuff. But and I'm sorry about earlier. I wasn't even thinking about these things. But so I think there's a lot of healing that needs to be done because remember, in every species there is good and there can be bad, regardless. Human, reptiles or the IANS at the end, or whatever it may be. So I think that we're healing that relationship. But this is my theory. I don't want to say it to scare people, but I believe that there is a good number of wildlife that are ancestors or cousins to the ones that live inside, that are the minions kind of feeling things out here, and then they're connected to a hive mind, and they go send information back. This is very woo-woo, and I didn't even put this in my book because people will think I'm a little bit nutty. But then there are those that are actually very earth-centered, and they're here to ground us, and they're very grounding. So I love snakes. I love spiders. I love turtles. Not turtles are different, but I respect, let's just say, a lot of different species. And reptiles, I have one of those healthy respects with boundaries. Like when I worked at the zoo, I never wanted to do the reptile rotation because I'd have to go in with anacondas bigger than me, and I'd have to give them injections of steroids and things. And I was scared out of my mind. I had to do a Komodo dragon several times, and I had to get blood from a Komodo dragon. And I'm trusting this keeper to like keep this thing contained. I'd much rather do a gorilla. So, it's intimidating, but I think that there's a mixed bag of connections with them for obvious reasons. And I think that's part of what we're working through as a collective, which is why I wanted to title this, like, we need to reestablish or repair the human animal bond, because I think, and I talked about this in several books that I've written, I think that they try to skew our relationship, especially with domesticated animals, so that because they know that they heal us, they ground us, they teach us unconditional love, they provide something for us that we aren't able to get in the way that we truly need from each other, because we are emotional beings. And my dog, no matter what I say or what I do or what kind of mood I come home to, he's right there with me, or my cat. But if I act a certain way around my children, they're going to be scared of me. If I act like that with my husband, he's going to be like, he's going to be like, I don't want to be near you. Those animals, they are with us regardless, no matter what. So they're here to just center us, to ground us, like Sharnael mentioned, in such a profound way. And I think that the dark, as I call them, the dark players, as a code name, which is not so code anymore, but they know that. So they try to do what they can to create allergies, which is another frequency to combat the frequency of harmony. And I believe it's a technology that they use so that we have more allergies towards them than we've ever had before. Anything that they can to keep us away from animals, because they know that they're so healing, which is a shame. So I think we are really in the process of healing the human animal bond as we speak.
I always love watching those videos, and you get them a lot on reels on Instagram and Facebook and things like that. Granted, I know they know what they're doing; they're trained to do these sorts of things. But when there's guys who have like a lion sanctuary and they can go in the compound with them and they play with them and they're friendly and I'm just thinking, I would absolutely love to have that kind of relationship with a lion where, they're not just going to hunt me and eat me. But you have they understand the psychology of lions. They know how to be the leader of the pack, which is how they tend to do it. But there's always something in me that's just like, I would love to go in with tigers and lions and hang out with them and play with them and stuff. You know what I mean? And I just think it is something that we have lost. As they're very, very much, as you say, the dark players have tried to sever our connection to nature in every possible way, because they know how important that is for our well-being, our health, our consciousness. And I think animals is a big part of that. Which, again, domesticated animals, is that an attempt by people just to reconnect with animals and nature? The fact that we have domesticated, or do you think the animals have come to us? Have we domesticated them, or have they come to us?
Yeah, that's a really good point. And what I learned in my sessions throughout the years is that most most of the galactic connections I have, like when I talk to Andromedans, Pleiadians, whomever it is, they tell me repeatedly, we don't have pets where we come from. You have a very unique situation here. And I believe as part of the ascension, as part of our healing, as part of to help us awaken, we have a soul contract with domesticated animals, not wildlife, but domesticated animals, to come into this reality, to be domesticated so that they can help us heal in the ways that we've just mentioned this entire chat. So I think it's a unique situation that does not exist. It's quite rare. And a lot of souls that I talk to say, well, I've never seen this before, like animals. But exactly what you just mentioned, there are many planets and many places where animals and people coexist mutually, where we could walk out in a jungle with a tiger and not be killed, because we respect each other. There are boundaries there, and it's normal. But here, they are also taught to fear us because they are poached, they are killed, they're for sport. I mean, lots of things. So they have altered this human-animal bond in so many ways to break us apart. And I believe that's why the domesticated animals have come here to help heal it, by creating a bridge to connect us, like one step closer to connect us together, and to teach us empathy and compassion, because so many people lack that. And I think people have a hard time, no matter how horrible of a person they are, even when you see an animal being abused, like it hits somewhere in the heart that, like, some people can't even, like even the hardest people can't block. So they're teaching us something.
So absolutely. I have to ask then, are we going to eventually stop eating them?
Great question. I talked about this years ago at another conference, and I wrote about it in my book. So there's a double answer there. Everything takes time, and our genetics have to shift. Our epigenetics over time, how we've been programmed and modified. We are carnivorous. We have become more of a carnivorous species. And what I have been told is that, again, this is unique to many other places. They don't eat meat like we do. Again, just like having domesticated pets, they don't eat animals. So what I've been told is that we're gradually, and you can see, because I work with children, as you guys know, 70% of the children I work with, the new earth children coming in, will not and refuse to eat meat. So we're bringing in a huge collective of souls that are shifting the trajectory. But in the meantime, not everybody can just stop eating meat and be vegan. Some of our bodies sometimes are so used to the meat that we can't just go without it. There's a period, like a shift that needs to occur, a gradual shift. And Sharnael has the science, probably more science background to explain what I'm saying. But in the future, what I see is very small pockets of human carnivores, but it'll be very local to them eating, like catching and raising and catching their own. And it'll be like the indigenous Native Americans, for example. They honored, and when they sacrificed the buffalo, they only ate them in periods of the year where they couldn't get the fruits and vegetables. So there was an understanding there, a mutual agreement. I think that's what we're going to see. But I think more than 50% of the population in the future generations will not eat meat. So, but nothing is 100% with certainty. Like it's not that 100% of people won't eat meat. That's the information that I've received over hundreds of sessions over probably the last decade, kind of coming into one.
Yeah. So I think, with my opinion, with the whole vegan movement is to control that and bring it prematurely. Because a lot of people are trying these diets and they're not healthy for them. Mm-hmm. And the way I see it is, as our bodies are transforming in this, whatever you want to call it, ascension or whatever, our bodies are changing, and it will get to the point where it's not that we're stopping eating meat, it's that we just don't have the appetite or need for it anymore. I think it will be an organic thing that we kind of evolve out of. That's the way I see it anyway. I don't know if Sharnael's got any further comment on that.
The only thing I'm going to say, and then we got to wrap up, which is so sad because I could keep going, but everybody does what they do. I just don't like it when people shame the other groups for what they're doing, as far as like, you eat meat, that's terrible. Oh, you're vegan, you're annoying, blah, 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 because body type, blood type,
Exactly.
know,
Bone structure,
all of
everything.
that.
Exactly. Yeah.
Yeah, and then I think I don't like the way that they're being killed. I'm not a fan of,
Like the mass culling and all. Yeah.
raising animals to kill them, and or the way that they're taken care of, which isn't really taken care of. I'm not a fan
Steroids to make them
of
grow quicker.
steroids
Right.
and the locked in cages, and I'm not a fan of breeding dogs either. I work at a shelter, and I think that there is a place for having a good German Shepherd that isn't going to have hip problems and things like that. But I just think there's so many extremes. But the thing that I always say when and I'm not vegan, and I know people who are, but I'm not against people who need to or have a blood type that need to. But I think people forget that plants are alive. I have technology that can connect a mic to a plant, and you can hear the plant sing. And you can also cut a vegetable next to whatever, and just cutting a vegetable, the plant will cry with the vegetable being cut, or the shrimp being boiled.
Yeah.
And the shrimp, there's everything's alive. Everything's alive. Crystals are alive. So there isn't. To me, I just think the shaming of like, oh, you shouldn't do this, and all this, like what everyone should do. Although, like I said, I am not a fan of the way that some of these big corporations have taken on killing chickens, or all of that. I just think that goes too far in the way they do it. I love what Sherri said about the whole native honoring, like, they were, if they had to kill, it was because of their family, and that's the choice they made, and they were doing gardens and things like that, and then they would pray or worship or honor the life, before they would eat it and partake. And it was a big spiritual situation.
Ritualistic. Yeah.
Yeah, I don't like the hunt of just because it's a sport and I want to kill, and I don't hunt at all. By the way, I wouldn't be able to. I literally spent 2 hours yesterday. It was so sad, trying to let 6 flies out of the house without killing them, because I was like getting a cup, and like, I'm that girl who's gonna like get the ant on a piece of card and like let the ant go outside. I mean, no matter what kind of animal, a beetle, all of it. Like maybe not a snake, but so anyway, that's I feel like I could feel their feelings, and I've always been, I don't know how to explain it, but it hurts me to hurt something. Even plants, it hurts me to, I love flowers, but I'm not even a fan of cutting flowers to give you flowers, because I feel like, oh my God, they died for me. Call it crazy, but I like plants. Give me a plant that's in a pot, and I'll do my best to keep it alive. But flowers die, and they like died for me, and they're so pretty, but also it's sad. But anyway, where can we find you, Sherri? And tell us where to get your book and all those things before we skedaddle today.
Well, thank you guys for having me on. I know that we started late, so we didn't have a full time, but I'm just grateful that you invited me on. So thank you for this. I've had a great time. You can find me on my website, sherridivband.com. We didn't talk about this today, but I have Aramis Creative Learning Center, children's classes and things like that. That's aramiscreativelearning.com. I'm on Instagram, YouTube, all under my name. And the books are all available on Amazon as well.
And you've just released a book, haven't you? Book 4? And what's
book 4?
that?
It's called Courage to Change the Freedom Movement, which is really a part 2 from the book last year that came out, Star Seeds and the Great Awakening. It's just more.
Wait, Courage to Change what?
The Freedom Movement.
Oh, I'm going to check that out. Okay, cool.
I saw your show with Lily Nova. It was really good, really good.
Yeah, we did that last night. This one's a little bit more healing, like how to heal. We always tell people heal, so I just give my 2 cents and techniques on what I've used. So it's different, but I think needed right now.
I agree. Well, it was an absolute honor and pleasure to meet you in person. Like you said at the beginning, we can talk online like this, and that's great. But when you're in someone's field, in physicality, it's a whole different ball game, and that's what is so important about meeting in person. And it's hard being over here, all in the windy, blustery UK, and everyone's over there seemingly in Florida. It seems like everybody lives in Florida. And that's where you are, I believe, isn't it, as well?
Yeah. Yeah.
But no, it was great to meet you. And what I love is just how down to earth you are and just real, even with the knowledge and the amazing work you're doing. You and Kaz are a great couple. It was hilarious hanging out by the fire. So
Thank you.
I'm really grateful that you came on. Thank you.
Thank you so much. I really appreciate that. Thank you for having me on, Dr. Sharnael.
Yes, yes. And you guys go share this, get it out to somebody who may have an animal or be interested in this information. And you can find Craig on all the platforms, and he's got his channel. You want to share your channel and everything?
Yeah, Craig W Ascension Meditation. I've not done one for a bit because life is uber busy and has been. That's why we've not done a show for a while, because Sharnael's been traveling, I've traveled, and the stars aren't quite aligned. But here we are, we're back again. So I haven't done much recently, but I must get back into that. And I'm currently touring the UK with a band called 10. We're doing. I don't know when this is going to be aired actually, but we'll check out the website for the dates. If anybody's in the UK, we have had people come who watched the show to see us, and it was great to meet them. But check out my socials, Facebook, usual thing, and I'd like to connect with people.
Awesome. And you guys can find me at drsharnael.com. You can go. Of course, we're here on the podcast, Instagram, TikTok, all the things. Love you guys so much. And thank you. And appreciate all the members who are here with us and help support us to keep us going. And if you're interested in helping us keep it going, your membership is much appreciated. We do lots of giveaways and have some fun community time. Many of you have become really good friends, and I love that we've gotten to know you better. And you guys have a great one. We'll see you around. And thank you again, Sherri. You're awesome. Love your heart. Bless you so much.
Thank you.
Bye, guys.
Bye-bye. Bye-bye.